Tonight on Taskforce Geek, we are talking about even more layoffs over at DC Comics and ask what the heck is going on over there. We talk about our favorite unmade movie or sequel, and we're proud to have some time with our guest, two-time Eisner award-winning writer Mike Baron, and that's all coming up now. Welcome to Taskforce Geek. My name is Dirk Cooper, and tonight I am joined by Scott.
Howdy!
And Sean.
Hello.
And our guest, Mike Baron. There he is, folks. We got him.
How you doing tonight, Mike?
Good.
All right. We are broadcasting live right now on my Facebook page, which is that right there, on YouTube, which is that right there, and on my Twitter and Periscope account, which is that right there. And what we're going to do is go directly into our feature segment. So here we go. All right. Our feature segment tonight is our guest, two-time Eisner Award-winning writer Mike Baron. I'm going to go through what it says on Wikipedia, because he's got a Wikipedia, unlike some of the other people we've had on here. Mike has a Wikipedia entry.
I have nothing to do with that.
I know. You can correct this in real time.
We're just saying we're not as cool as you because we don't have a Wikipedia.
Exactly. Not all of our guests have a Wikipedia entry. In 1981, Mike Baron published his first formal comic script with Nexus, the science fiction title he co-created with illustrator Steve Rude. The series garnered numerous honors, including Eisner Awards for both creators. A prolific creator, Baron is responsible for The Badger, Ginger Fox, Spike, Feud, and many other comic book titles. He and artist Jackson Geist relaunched The Flash in June 1987. Baron and Klaus Janson introduced the character Microchip as an ally of the Punisher in The Punisher #4, November 1987. In 1988, Baron wrote the Dead Man feature in Action Comics Weekly, which led to two subsequent Dead Man limited series. Baron has also written numerous other mainstream characters, including Batman and several Star Wars adaptations for Dark Horse Comics. In 2014, Baron published Biker, his first novel about reformed motorcycle hoodlum Josh Pratt, first in the Bad Road Rising series. He has created Q-Ball, a comic about martial arts and espionage with Barry McLean Jr. And honestly, that's just the tip of the iceberg. There's so much more we're going to be talking about current projects as well. So welcome to the show, Mike Baron.
Thank you.
My first question to you, and you guys can chime in, and hopefully our viewers will also chime in with some questions, is how did you get into writing comics?
Well, I always wanted to be a writer ever since I was a kid growing up in Mitchell, South Dakota. And the first comics I picked up were Uncle Scrooge comics. And I was in awe of them because I knew they were special. I'd read other comics, but they weren't worth saving. I mean, you read them and you'd immediately forget them, but not the Uncle Scrooge comics. So I wrote to Disney. I was just like 10 years old. Who's this guy? And they said, oh, that's Carl Barks. He lives in Portland. Here's his address.
Wow.
So I wrote, I said, dear Mr. Barks, I love your comics. Would you do a drawing of Scrooge for me? And he sent me this.
Oh,
wow. Are you kidding me?
That is awesome.
That is so cool.
But I didn't really get into comics until I went to university. Some friends turned me on to Steranko and Neil Adams. And after college, I moved to Boston. I started writing for a number of newspapers. I was a music editor. It was my job to go out night after night and listen to bands and review them and talk to the musicians. But I really always just wanted to create my own fiction. And I wanted to do comics and novels. And in fact, my first comic was something I did with Larry Gonick, who does the cartoon History of the Universe series. It's lost to time now. It's a very valuable underground comic. But I moved back to Madison in 77, and I was working at an insurance company when an editor called me and said, there's some guy down here trying to sell us his art, and he draws just like you. I was trying to draw at the time badly. And I met the dude, and he showed me his portfolio, and we decided to hook up right there. And we were in the right place at the right time because Capital City Distribution was centered in Madison. Second largest comic book distributor in the world. They had warehouses in a dozen countries, and they decided they wanted to do their own comics. So I brainstormed the first 12 pages of Nexus. In those days, I wrote comics by drawing each page out by hand. And it taught me many valuable lessons about spacing, timing, how much weight a page could contain. And probably the most valuable lesson of all is what happens next. Because I proceeded panel by panel. I didn't have the whole story in mind. I mean, I had the contours and the beats in my head. And I had subconsciously absorbed the rhythm of the story. A story is a dynamic narrative with a beginning, a middle, and an end. And by dynamic, I mean that the situation is constantly in flux. Mm-hmm. If the protagonist is perfectly happy with his life and he's content, he's not worried about anything, and everything's going smoothly, it's not much of a story.
Right.
But my first notion was if the protagonist showed up and somebody died every time he showed up, that was drama. And that's not an original thought. And that's why police, doctor, lawyer shows are so popular. But then I came up with a rationale for him that was pretty unique, and that he was an executioner of mass murderers, a reluctant executioner of mass murderers, driven by his dreams to exterminate the dictators that he dreamt about. And if he failed to act, the dreams would return more horrifically and intense than ever until they drove him mad. But there's this whole history behind him now. It just seemed to gather weight as we went along in universe building. And it's a huge universe now. And there's a lot more to it than that. It turns out that Horatio Hellpop, which is Nexus' real name, was chosen by an insane alien to be the conscience of his race. And I suppose insane alien is redundant, because one of the recurring themes in my science fiction and comics is that aliens may truly be alien to us, and it may be impossible for us to understand their thinking. Of course, it is possible with a number of alien races because they cooperate with Nexus, and there are a lot of friendly aliens in the series. So we showed those first 12 pages to the boys at Capital City, and they said, yeah, give us 20 more. And they published 3 oversized black and white issues before they decided to go to color. And then they did the first 6 Nexus issues in color, and they realized that they bit off more than they could chew. They really didn't know what they were doing. And so they sold the characters off at my request. I mean, we were presented, a number of publishers were interested, but I wanted to go with First. And we went with First, and I was very happy with that decision. I have to say that today, Steve and I own the copyright and trademark to Nexus because Mike Richardson returned them to us.
Awesome.
That's incredible.
In an act of generosity that I don't think has ever been repeated.
So, real quick, just so I understand that, you said you guys chose First, so you had choices and they let you creative controlly sell those off? Okay. I was always curious, like, how that happened. I mean, First was a big company for a while, until, like a lot of companies that go out. So they
were a medium company with an outstanding line. They had Star Slayer, American Flag.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, you had Chaikin, Mike Grail. I mean, there's a bunch of you guys that are some greats there. So
great stuff. I mean, that was your deal was very unusual for that time. For you to to have a creator-owned character?
But it wasn't creator owned until Richardson returned the rights to us.
Oh, okay, right.
I have to ask this. I know you created, the character Badger. I didn't realize until today. Is it possible that you came up with the Badger from your Wisconsin Badger alumni where you went to school?
That was definitely part of it.
Okay. Well, I was reading up on you today and I was like, oh my gosh, he went to Wisconsin. He has to, that's where the Badger came from. That's awesome. I love stuff like that. So I think that's really cool.
What was the world of independent comics like in the 80s?
Well, I have a very narrow view of it from what I was doing, but I have to say it was a great time. No one interfered editorially with anything I ever did on Nexus or Badger for 10 to 15 years. They just let me do my thing. And because of the success of those characters, I was asked to write The Punisher and Flash, respectively. And they gave me great editorial freedom there as well.
Yeah, I remember that Flash run came out of the Crisis stuff, if I remember right. That was the Wally Wood featured, not
Yep,
Wally Wood.
yep.
I'm sorry, Wally West. Wally
Wally
West featured Flash comic and stuff. And really, to me, that's like my generation Flash. So
Me too.
You reestablished these gold age characters, as the silver age, or I guess the modern age things or whatever. I just remember those distinctly. And your Punisher stuff, I remember I was telling you beforehand that I remember finding issue 4 of the limited series of the Punisher. And then I remember walking into the comic shop and there it was, Punisher #1, the one that you wrote. And I grabbed it and I thought I found gold because it was just amazing. The Punisher was such a new character for young Scott at the time. So some great times, great characters, and a lot of long, great runs there. Because you told me you did it up to 63, and I remember issue 50 and stuff for sure. So I know I was still following you then. So
yeah, issue 50 was a double-size issue. I was lucky again. I had a great editor in Carl Potts who let me do whatever I wanted, and as long as it made sense. And I approached the character as a straight crime story. There were no superheroics, science fiction, or aliens in it. And for the first 2 or 3 years, that's what I did. We did bring in Kingpin as a bad guy because he's a natural enemy of the Punisher. But I tried to do it as street-level crime.
And I think that's what made it work so well. It was very different, this is set in the Marvel Universe, but they're, like you said, scrolls don't appear. This doesn't show up. They don't cause chaos. He's fighting for the people, the ground level guy. And I think that's what made it so unique at the time, especially for me, because I didn't really read anything like that.
Well, everybody knows that it was based on Don Pendleton's The Executioner.
Oh, I didn't know that. So there you go.
That makes sense.
Yeah, his first appearance in Spider-Man. And you've all seen the title with the Punisher framed in a reticle holding a rifle.
Right.
I had that issue, yeah.
And it was really just a straight rip-off of The Executioner, who'd been around for years. And it still might be published these days. I don't know. There are well over 100 Executioner novels, but it was a guy that was infuriated against organized crime, the mafia in particular, for killing his family, who was on a lifelong quest to bring them down.
So, Mike, did Marvel approach you, or did you approach Marvel about the Punisher gig?
Carl Potts called me and asked me to write it.
Okay. Based on your success over at first?
Based on the Badger, he told me.
Really? That's awesome. You said that when you wrote stories at the beginning, you drew them out yourself, and basically handed the artist layouts. Is that correct?
That's true.
How long did that go? Because the artist you're talking about is Steve Rude, and Steve Rude's a great artist, right? So how long did you give Steve Rude layouts?
About 10 years. We'd go over and meet at his apartment and go through the stories, the pages one by one. While we were doing it, he'd do little thumbnails in the margins right there. They're no bigger than a postage stamp. but you could see what was going on because they were very lucid thumbnails.
Mm-hmm. No, I think that's really cool. I love hearing what a creative team that's worked together is. I think y'all did 70 issues of Nexus? Is that am I wrong on
They're
that?
well over 100 now.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many of those, so many spin-offs with the, I believe it was Nexus Robot, Magnus Robot Fighter, if I remember correctly.
We did a crossover with
Yeah.
Magnus for
Really?
Yeah, they
Valiant.
did. Yeah,
That's another favorite character of mine. That's pretty cool.
yeah, it's good stuff. Yeah, to work together that long with a team, I love hearing like how you guys, just kind of flowed and gelled together as a creative team. I think that's some of the most interesting stuff, especially when you have guys that work together for a really long time. So good stuff to hear. Can I ask another one?
Yeah, go ahead, man.
I don't want to clog up all the fanboy stuff.
You can ask as many as you want, but yeah, that's fine, man. Go ahead.
So, Mike, I loved your Archer and Armstrong run. You took over from Barry Windsor Smith over at Valiant. And I remember a lot of my friends at the time dropped the book because you and Mike Vosberg came onto the book, if I remember correctly, the artist. I really loved your run. And I think it doesn't get enough credit as like, that was a really good Valiant book. I mean, like there was some decent books at the time, but I think that was one of the better books. And Barry Windsor Smith is great to me. He's
tough act to follow.
Oh gosh, tough act to follow for sure. And I was happy to hear that you were writing it because I was a fan of you from Punisher and stuff. And then like, here we go. We had Mike Vosberg, and it took me a while to like really get used to his art because it is different and his storytelling's different than Barry Windsor Smith. But man, looking back, those are some great issues and issues I still have in my collection to this day. So as a big Archer and Armstrong fan, and like one of the few books that I've kept from that old Valiant stuff, I want to just thank you because those are really great stuff. And I appreciate it being a little fanboy on those.
Well, I'm glad. I'm glad you like them.
What was your approach to those characters?
It was so long ago, that I would have to reread the comics and remind myself, because I can't even remember the stories. Unlike Nexus or Badger, where I remember the stories clearly, probably because I created them. I wrote a whole bunch of stuff for Valiant, and I was very proud of it at the time, and I thought they were good books. But again, I don't think I have copies of those books. I wrote Shadow Man, I wrote Ninjak, Turok Dinosaur Hunter, and I was proud of all those books, especially the run on Turok that Rags Morales illustrated. And I think I worked with Vale Myerick on Shadow Man, and I would just have to take another look at those books to figure out what I was thinking. And if I read them today, it would probably be like reading a book fresh for the first time because I just don't remember what I wrote.
Well, that makes sense too. I mean, that's more of a job than your babies. But if you do a job well done, if I still keep your stuff, that means that I really loved them. So
Mike Kennedy wants to know what the inspiration for Ginger Fox was. Well, it was twofold. One was Mitch O'Connell, who just had this iconic art style. It's like nobody else. I mean, you look at a Mitch O'Connell drawing, and you know instantly it's Mitch. And the other one was, I lived in a condo at the time, and one of my neighbors was named Ginger Fox. That was her name. And I will often build a story around a name. And I've always been fascinated with movie making. I think we all are. We're all movie geeks.
Sure.
And so I decided, well, what if she were a studio executive? And it would be like a day in the life of Ginger Fox, where she has to deal with temperamental stars and producers and flacks and agents. It was just a good stew. It was all the elements I like writing about.
That's cool. Mike says also, I love McConnell's artwork.
Yeah, I'm trying to look that up right now.
O'Connell.
Oh, okay. I see.
Oh,
it.
okay. He says, all right.
I remember this now. These are from Comico.
Jim says, glad you could join us, Mr. Barrett.
Thank you, Jim.
My next question is, what's it like to win 2 Eisner Awards and an ink pot?
it was very gratifying. It's nice to be recognized. We didn't think we were going to win, and I was just very surprised when they called us up on stage.
Where did they give those out at? Is it New
San
York?
Diego,
Oh, it's San Diego Comic Con.
yes. Jerry wants to meet my friends. Well, you've met Ann.
Okay. Well, we weren't live when we met her. though.
Okay,
You
okay.
might-
We're gonna have a cameo appearance by Freddie.
All right.
Freddie's the newest member of our family. That's Matt chasing after Ann. She's the oldest. That's Bob. That's Bob. That's
Oh,
Bob.
gee.
Yeah, here's
Oh my
Freddie's
gosh, here
almost
we go.
Oh my gosh, you got the dog pound there.
It's
Yeah.
okay. It's okay.
They're all mutts.
Oh.
This is Freddie.
Hey, Freddie.
He's a good baby.
Freddie's kind of camera shy. He's like,
Yeah,
what
he's
the
not.
hell is going on
What do you
here?
say?
They say he's camera shy.
He doesn't know about this.
He looks like a
I
sailor
forgot
or
where to
something.
go. Song's not light.
All right.
Okay, we're done.
All right.
Who's your buddy? Who's the buddy in the back? Is that Fred?
That's
Did you say
Mac.
Fred?
Mac just jumped off the bed.
Oh, Mac. Okay.
She's our oldest
right.
dog.
They can't probably see Bob.
Yeah, there's Bob.
That's
How
fun. So you didn't think that you maybe had a chance at winning those, or what was your thoughts at the time of winning those awards?
Well, again, I was very gratified and pleased, but I'm not somebody who goes after an award. I mean, it's not
Right.
like the movie industry. And back in those days, it wasn't like it is today. When today, they will really lobby for that award. The
Yeah, they
publisher
will.
will start sending the book around to everybody and say, for your consideration. But in those days, it was just a jury of your peers who were doing their best to choose the best in each category.
Compare and contrast working for the big two versus working on independent projects.
Well, Marvel and DC were great. They'd fly me into town. DC would always take me to see a show. And,
Really?
and Marvel would put me up and take me out to eat, and we'd discuss plot lines. And it was exciting to be in New York City in those days.
Yeah.
And occasionally I would visit Chicago, where First was headquartered. And later, when Nexus went to Dark Horse, I would visit Portland, Milwaukee, actually, where Dark Horse is headquartered. And they were always very friendly and amenable to me. And Dark Horse was a smaller shop, of course. So everybody was there, I mean, who was working on it. And I don't know what they're doing these days. They're hunkering down due to the virus.
pandemic.
And they don't know when they're going to flower again. But the
Right.
comic industry is reeling. It's reeling for a number of reasons. And the virus is just the latest. I think that Marvel and DC, Marvel in particular, is making terrible choices in the material they choose to present. They've forgotten the first rule of comics, which is entertainment.
Mhm.
People buy those comics to be entertained, and I can't claim to be an avid reader. I have picked up a few in recent years just to see what they're like, and I was not entertained. And I see what gets posted on the comic press about what they're doing. And it just seems to me that they're not really grabbing readers by the throat. And that's my whole thing with anything I write, is to grab the reader by the throat and drag him into the narrative to the exclusion of all else. To make
Right.
him eager, nay, desperate to know what happens next.
Yeah.
Which is the essential question in all fiction. What happens next? Well, how do you make the reader care? Well, first of all, you give him a protagonist with whom he can identify. I'm reading Stan Lee's biography now by Danny Fingeroth, and he's talking about the creation of Spider-Man and how unique it was at the time because it was so realistic, and high school kids could identify with Peter Parker like no other character because Peter Parker was a high school kid, and he was riven with self-doubt, and he had hassles with his schoolmates.
Yeah.
So it spoke to them on a level that no other comic ever has. Well, I can't. I mean, there are millions of comics by now, and I can't keep up with all of them. In fact, these days I read very few comics. The only comics I read are the ones that people send me, and a lot of friends send me their comics. And I mostly read a lot of fiction and historical books.
So, did you meet Stan Lee? I'm just
Many
curious.
times. Yes, in fact,
Oh,
I
wow.
interviewed him. I think in 1975 for Cream magazine. It was a cover story.
Oh wow.
Holy cow.
So, and if you don't want to answer this, you don't have to. I know a lot of people. There's always this Jack or Stan, or who, Jack created Stan Lee and Stan Lee created Jack or abused Jack, and this. You hear a lot of stuff on the internet, of course, these days. What was your personal experience like with Stan Lee?
He was a very charming fellow. And for those who are interested in who did what, I got to recommend Fingeroth's book. It's really excellent on who did what. And the verdict is it's really unclear. I mean, Stan was the driving force behind Marvel, and he wrote thousands of stories. But Steve Ditko was probably at least as much responsible for the success of Spider-Man as Stan was.
Sure.
You can argue these things forever, but it was a synergy, a meeting of two different talents. So Stan worked with a lot of great artists, but Jack Kirby and Steve Ditko are probably the most famous, and those are the guys who were most responsible for the creation of their iconic characters.
Mm-hmm. I was just curious because you got to be around him and work with him, and I'm very curious in everybody's perspective and personal interaction with those people. So that's cool. Did you ever meet Jack Kirby before he
I met him
passed?
once on his 70th birthday. I shook his hand.
Oh wow.
Wow, that's awesome. He didn't say much else, just kind of how you doing?
He was walking through the ballroom at this old hotel in San Diego before they moved to the new convention center, and I was just happy to meet him and just said, "Happy birthday, Mr. Kirby. It's a pleasure to meet you." And that was it.
Yeah, that's awesome though. That's some
You
good
should
stuff.
ask Steve Root sometime. He hung out with Stan a great deal.
Oh wow.
Really?
Hey, we'd love to have Steve on here. So
Yes, we would.
you hook us up, we'll get him on.
I will.
That'd be great.
How do you feel about the current environment, including Kickstarters and social media versus the way things used to be?
Well, social media has been a blessing and a curse.
Yep.
It brings out the worst in people.
Mm-hmm.
However, crowdfunding is the way to go for me. I want that audience, and it's the audience that's turned its back on traditional comics and traditional publishers.
True.
Because they're not entertaining. And I can't speak for all the crowd-funded books I've seen out there, although I have a number of them that my friends send me. But I will tell you this, my books are entertaining. As I say, my goal is to grab the reader by the throat. And one of the things that keeps me going is I think I'm getting better as a writer. For instance, I set out to be a novelist, and I wrote piles and piles of trash. And it's my theory that every would-be writer has a million words of trash clogging up his system, and you have to get that out before you get to the good stuff.
There you go.
And I went through a very dark period in my life between the time I moved from Madison to Fort Collins, and I couldn't get any work writing anything, and I took any odd job that I could, including unloading automobile bumpers and packing mouse pads for shipment, watching kids on recess at local schools. And when I came back to writing, everything gelled. And all of a sudden, I understood the form, and I understood what entertainment was and how to grab a reader by the throat. And the book that did it for me was Banshees, which is my biggest novel. It's about a satanic rock band that comes back from the dead. And I was burrowing through this. And I think one of the things was that I knew what had to happen next. And that's what stops a lot of would-be novelists, is because if you don't know where you're going, a lot of people don't have the sense to back away from the typewriter. And if you don't know what you're going, you back away from the typewriter and you think about it, or you work on another project. And soon it will come to you eventually. And I have methods to chart out a story. But while I was writing the book, I realized I have it. This is momentum. I can't wait to see what happens next. So the reader won't be able to wait either. And it's my theory that every good writer writes to entertain himself. If you don't entertain yourself, you're not going to entertain others. And I also think that a writer has to surprise himself. And now I prepare a detailed outline for any project I'm going to do, including a comic book series or a novel. And then I start working. But invariably, the story changes as I get into it for a number of reasons. One is, and every good writer knows this, when you create a compelling character, the character is going to turn around at some point and tell you what he's going to do next. And that's happened to me innumerable times, because you forge the character's character and you know what kind of person they are. And so you know what actions they will take. So you present them with a situation, and then they will determine what they're going to do next.
The character starts speaking to you.
That's right.
Since we're on that subject, what's your advice for someone who wants to either be a comic writer or just a writer in general?
Well, if for a comic book writer, my advice is hook up with an artist who wants to be a comic book illustrator. That's what I did, and put out your own comic. Comics are the cheapest multimedia form of entertainment you can do. One person can do it all, and I know a number of one-man shows that do great comics. Like David Lapham, who does Stray Bullets. It's terrific stuff. It's not for everybody. It's grim. Or Eric Larson, Savage Dragon. He does it all. And you can do that. But of course, comics being a visual medium, it's important to have an attractive style. If you're just doing stick figures like I am, well, you can't publish that. Nobody wants to see it. But once you have good art, then you have to have good story, because we've all collected comics with fantastic, dazzling art where we don't even bother to read the words after a while. I mean, you read it once, it didn't make sense, it was stupid, it was shallow, but the art is so great.
Right.
You double bag that sucker and you pull it out from time to time.
I think I have a few boxes of those, actually.
Right.
I think some of those guys you mentioned, Dave Lapham and Eric Larson.
Yeah, those are good choices.
Eric Larson, he always said long ago, because I've almost followed him from the beginning. I remember like him on Doom Patrol and stuff like that from those days. But he always said, I want to do my own work. And I only want to do my own work from the very beginning. And he's still doing it. And I got to be honest, I worry every day or every month, I should say, that we're going to find out it's the final issue. And I know Eric, it seems like he takes these odd jobs doing covers or a miscellaneous Marvel series that I assume is just to fund his book, because it can't be one of the top image sellers or anything. But just to keep at it, you can just tell, like you said, the character takes over for him as well, and you can see that in his stories and stuff. So
Gary Brown wants to know if I feel the modern comic industry has sacrificed great stories in some cases in order to make social statements in the name of diversity. Well, I don't know if they sacrificed any great stories, but yes, they have turned off thousands of readers by preaching. And as I say, I have 3 rules. Rule number 1 is it's my job to entertain, and I never forget that. I want the reader to delight in what I write. I want him to breathlessly read the prose and look at the pictures and can't wait to find out what happens next. That's entertainment. I had a great teacher. His name is Jerry McNeely. He used to write Marcus Welby, MD. He said, you make them laugh a little bit, you make them cry a little bit, you scare the hell out of them, and that's entertainment.
Great words.
And Samuel Goldwyn said, if you want to send a message, use Western Union.
Wow, that is brilliant.
Mike, why don't you should we get into what he's doing?
Yeah.
We'll get into that just a second.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I want to talk about that. Okay, go ahead.
We got plenty of time. Once we get on that, that'll probably be our finale.
Okay.
Look, you're incredibly prolific. What keeps you going?
I don't think I'm that prolific, really, but But I got to
You
make a
got
living.
so much stuff coming out.
Yeah, it's coming out. And I've been fortunate to have some terrific support from great guys who know what they're doing, like Mike S. Miller, who agreed to let me work with his character Lone Star, and Doug Tenopple, who agreed to let me work with his character Bigfoot Bill. So it's a Nexus Lone Star Bigfoot Bill crossover, and you say, well, how could this be? Nexus is a very serious character, Lone Star is a very serious character, and Bigfoot Bill is a Sasquatch with big cartoon eyes. But if you go back over Nexus, if you're familiar with the run, you know that we have all sorts of funny animal characters in there, and we always have. Clone Zone, the Hilariator, Honest Crocus, bigger than life characters like Keith Vooper. So it was no great stretch for Nexus to cross over and do an adventure with those guys. And I've always been in favor of crossovers. We had Nexus crossover with Badger. We had him crossover with Magnus Robot Fighter. And Badger did a series with Steve Englehart's Coyote. So, that's comics.
Oh,
There's a long tradition to it. But I took the story very seriously because, as I say, my number one goal is to entertain.
All right. Let's get into the first thing that you sent us here, which is Florida Man. So I'm going to bring this up right here. There it is. That's the Indiegogo campaign.
Is this the one with Mike Norton?
No, Todd Mulrooney is our artist.
I'm sorry. Yeah. Okay.
And this is the funniest comic ever written. I guarantee you, burst out laughing multiple times. It was a novel first. It came out of my novel.
There we go.
And this is on Amazon. I have a sequel out now called Hogzilla. And the reviews for Florida Man have been very gratifying. One guy says he had it on audiobook. He says, I had to pull over to the side of the road several times because I was laughing so hard I couldn't see. And another guy says that my wife got irritated because I was reading the book in bed and I kept bursting out laughing. And then a lot of people hate the book. They give it 1 star. This is trash. This is trash. But it says,
is it from people from Florida? You get those 1 stars?
No. It says vile and profane right on the cover.
There's the link to it on Amazon. If you're interested.
You. Yeah. I'm working on a third Florida Man novel right now, but the graphic novel is hilarious, and it's real gut busting humor. It's not jokes or puns or anything like that. I mean, it's humor that rises out of the situation and out of all those Florida Man stories, which often are humiliating. Let's face it.
Tell us a little bit about that character and what's going on with him.
Gary Duba's just a redneck living down by the swamp, trying to enjoy life. There's a snake in his toilet. There's a rabid raccoon in the yard, and his girl Crystal's in jail for getting naked at a Waffle Hut and licking the manager. So Gary sets off with his best friend Floyd to sell his prize Barry Bonds rookie card to raise the $500 needed for bail. But things get out of hand. Now, I can't tell you what goes on in the graphic novel because it's too shocking. You have to see it for yourself. I don't want to give it away. But there's one incident in the book that's not in the graphic novel where this .com millionaire offers a prize for the largest python caught in the annual python cull. So I don't know if you know this, but Florida is overrun with pythons. They're an invasive species. They come from Burma, and they're a real problem. So Gary finds the python in the swamp, cuts its head off with a samurai sword, and then he has to duct tape the head back on to claim the reward.
I think I have some friends that are like Gary.
If you're not rushing to go buy this right now, I don't think you have a soul. Jennifer says, I want to buy Florida Man. Sounds hilarious.
Thank you,
and
Jennifer.
amazing.
It is.
So you took your books and then you made some comics of Florida Man. Is that correct?
I wrote a script that's based a lot on the Florida Man novel, but a lot of stuff I just made out of the whole cloth. The thing about Florida Man is that there's no end. There's no end to the stories. As I said, I'm working on my third Florida Man novel right now.
Wow.
That's awesome. Is Florida Man live on Kickstarter now?
It's live on Indiegogo.
Indiegogo. I'm sorry. I wanted to get that right.
And we did a Kickstarter, but that was limited, and now it's live on demand in Indiegogo. You should take a look. It's got great perks, a lunchbox, a towel to die for.
Wow, a towel.
There's the Indiegogo link.
Yeah.
If you're interested in that, and it will be everywhere that we post this. We'll have a link to it.
Thank you, sir.
That's
You're
great.
welcome. All right, let's talk about Buffalo Hump.
Tell them I'm running your Kickstarter.
Anne wants you to know that she ran my Cue Ball Kickstarter, and she
And
ran
Nexus.
and the Nexus novel
And now the
Kickstarter,
Badger.
and she's now running the Badger Kickstarter. We're doing a Badger novel. It's written. It's fantastic.
Oh,
We're going
that's
to launch in the next week or so. I sent you the cover. Buffalo Hump is the
Okay.
fifth novel in the Josh Pratt series.
You got so many things going on here. There's the
Well,
Nexus cover.
Yeah.
We'll get to that here in a second.
Yeah, but I've been working on the biker series for years. The first one's called Biker. And it's
Okay.
about Josh Pratt, a reformed motorcycle hoodlum who goes to prison where he finds God, and he comes out and tries to turn his life around. Yeah, that's all the covers look alike, except they have different colors and different titles, but they all have that skull on the Harley pistons.
Okay.
But Biker is number one. And it's about Josh's search for a child that was stolen by his no good father when he was like 9 months old. And now the mother is dying of cancer. She hires Josh to find the boy if he's still alive. And it leads to the Sturgis motorcycle rally and then to a horrendous encounter in the plains of Wyoming. The second one is called Sons of Privilege. And I don't know if you're familiar with the smiley face killings. In each case, a successful white college athlete found drowned after a night of drinking. Nearby, a smiley face painted on a wall.
Like graffiti, right?
Yeah, and if you Google smiley face killings, there's a wealth of material on them. The FBI had a task force for years. That's what the second one is about. The third
Cool.
is called Not Fade Away. And it's about a woman living in a trailer park who used to be the girlfriend of a rock superstar who gave her a song that he wrote about her called Marissa. He said, "This is your song. You wrote it down. I give it all to you." And then years later, she hears an insurance company using the song to sell insurance. And she contacts Josh and she says, "I want you to prove that this song is mine." And it sets him off on a journey that goes to Hollywood and goes to all sorts of places and ends up in a apocalyptic encounter in an abandoned automobile factory in Kenosha. The fourth one is called Sons of Bitches. And it's about a naive young woman who puts out her own Muhammad comic.
Oh,
Oh,
And she
Not a
has
good
to
idea.
hire Josh to protect her. The fifth
Interesting.
one is Buffalo Hump. And it's where a rock manager hires Josh to protect his prize client, a Sioux blues musician who calls himself Buffalo Hump, a charismatic musician who's opening a new casino on the Missouri River in South Dakota. But the problem is that a lot of his tribe are not down with the casino. They think they're being exploited, and some of them hate him so much they want to kill him. The sixth one is called Bloodline. It's about how Josh infiltrates a paramilitary motorcycle gang that deals in stolen weapons. The seventh is called Unfortunate Son, and it's about Josh's father who abandoned him when he was 15 years old at a truck stop. Now comes back because he hears Josh is doing well and he hopes Josh can help him. And this guy, his father, Dwayne, was dealing coke to a big shot Miami Dolphin football player. And when the football player didn't pay him for his coke, Dwayne stole a painting. But it's not just a painting. I just turned in the eighth novel. It's called Roadrunner, and it's about how one of his friends, the police detective, Heinz Calloway. His daughter joins a cult. She meets the guy online, this charismatic cult leader, and she arranges to meet him at a gas station on the fringes of town. Then she disappears, and it's up to Josh to track her down. And I just turned that in a couple days ago, and that'll probably be in print. It might be in print before the end of the year.
Wow.
That's awesome.
Mike, this feels like a series. Like
It is
we could have a Netflix series or something on this. No, I'm eventually in time.
It would be great if somebody would take a look, but I don't know anything about that. It's not like you can't go and say, "Hey, make this into a series for me."
I
They
got
gotta
you.
discover you. But I have to say that the Josh Pratt series is based on my love of John D. McDonald and his Travis McGee series, which was what first inspired me to want to be a novelist.
Wow.
That's great.
That's awesome. Let's talk about Nexus, Lone Star, and Bigfoot Bill, the crossover.
Josh Long is watching. Josh is a terrific local musician. He does rockabilly.
That's cool.
All right, what you were talking about, Nexus, Big Star.
Yeah, you
Nexus,
sent
Lone
us.
Star, Bigfoot. Yeah, this is Mike S. Miller's cover. It's not colored yet, or it might be, but I haven't seen it. But yeah, I can't wait to see it colored because there's so
That's
much
incredible.
going on. You're going to need the color to see what's actually going on.
Yeah, that's a great piece, though.
And the reason you got that surfer guy on the left there is years ago, Nexus, Steve asked me, well, what's the ultimate Nexus story? And right away, I said Nexus versus Galactus. But we can't use Galactus, so I created my own. He's called Gormando. and Gnosis is his herald. That's his Gnosis. That's Gnosis up in the upper left-hand corner. And in this story, Nexus goes back in time to save Earth from Gormando.
Huh.
It is a nice piece.
Yeah, it's incredible.
I also have a 3-issue Nexus series that Kelsey Shannon is illustrating, coming out from Splato Comics. And that's an add-on to the Impossible Stars Indiegogo campaign.
You say that you're not prolific. You said that the crossover campaign launches next Thursday. We don't have the link to it, but is there someplace they can go to? I mean, that's so close to now. Where can we send them?
I don't know. I think that Mike set up a pre-sign-up page, but I haven't been able to find it. But come Thursday, which is 2 days from now, I'm going to plaster it everywhere.
All right.
Okay, great.
Post it in the Taskforce Geek group and everything.
Yeah, please.
That way people
Thanks,
can
guys.
find it.
We'll push it there, and we'll push it here on the show
Great.
for sure. What about Offworlder? We're not done yet. We're not through all the projects. Okay.
He's not very busy.
I know.
Offworlder was Ben Henderson's idea. Ben came and went in comics like this. And he did a book called Ravage, which Chuck Dixon wrote. And Offworlder was a tribute to his own ancestors, who were Scots warriors. And the hero's name was Henry Gunn. And I think that Gunn is one of Ben's ancestors. And he just gave me the idea. And the idea was a 5th century Scots warrior who was embroiled in this dispute with Viking raiders, when this alien race comes to choose him to be their champion against another alien race. And yes, there are parallels with Nexus, but Ben was not thinking of Nexus when he wrote this, and it's a common theme in science fiction. But he gave it to me, and I ran with it. Henry Gunn's ally in this is an Egyptian princess called Sarah, who's warned by her oracles that she has to get out of town because the Muslims are about to sack Alexandria. And it takes place during the burning of the library at Alexandria. And in fact, that's the first page of the book. The art by Jordi Armengol is phenomenal. I urge everybody to go to that Kickstarter page and to look at Jordi's art.
There it is.
Can you scroll down?
Oh yeah,
We can, you bet. Let me bring that up full, and there you go. Look at that. That's beautiful.
that's a gorgeous piece right there.
Yeah,
Yeah, he's got a
nice.
unique style.
It's gritty, but grounded. I like it a lot. And what a great
colors are really
concept.
nice too.
Yeah, they really are.
I'm looking at it now too. Golly, this is pretty
Yeah,
fabulous.
folks, this is going on right now. How's the Kickstarter or how's the Indiegogo going?
Well, I think it's on Kickstarter, but it might be on Indiegogo too. I think that Larry, the guy that's running this campaign, launched one on Kickstarter and one on Indiegogo. So if you just
why
go
not?
Indiegogo Offworlder or Kickstarter Offworlder, it'll pop right up. There it is. You got it.
Yeah, it's on Indiegogo right now. That's where I'm looking. So
It looks like you're about half funded on
Yeah, it's not a big amount, but this is the third time we've launched this book. We just can't seem to get any traction. I don't know why.
You're kidding me.
No, I don't understand it all because
That's
the book is
insane.
outstanding. There's not a wasted panel in it. There's the burning of the library at Alexandria.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, this
And
is really
there's-
good stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's just phenomenal. I hope that the third time is the charm. Support this book, folks. You won't regret it.
How much longer do you have on this project?
I have no idea.
This is listed at 17 days.
Yeah.
17 days. So you got
But
a little over 2
flexible.
weeks.
But it's flexible, so they probably expand that.
Yeah, if we make the nut, it'll go into on demand.
Right.
But I mean, just look at it. It's just phenomenal.
Gary says he's backing that after this show. So
Thank you, Gary.
You got a few more dollars coming towards you there, for sure. And I mean, how can you not be enticed by this? Are you kidding me? I mean,
Yeah,
it
we
looks
have the Pat
gorgeous.
Broderick cover that's terrific.
Oh, nice. Very nice. A lot of different tiers here. Josh wants to say you're the best, Mike.
Yeah,
Love listening to you, and that this is very fun and informative.
I love listening to you, Josh.
That's awesome. All right. Is there anything else that you want to tell us about Offworlder?
No, except that, as the second issue is written, and we designed it as a 5-issue series, and I don't know the viability of crowdfunding pamphlets. And by that, I mean 24-page stories in a 32-page format.
Mm-hmm.
It seems to me, from what little I know, that the books that really do well are bigger than that. But we did well with Cue Ball, which Ann ran. I mean, we funded that, and we printed it, and we handed it out. And now my partner, Barry McLean, it's a 5-issue series, and he's illustrating the whole thing. And Barry has a publisher who will bring out the book as a trade paperback next year. And we're excited about that. I wish I could show you the art from that because it will blow your mind. Cue Ball is an espionage martial arts thriller.
Well, you can always drop back in and show off your stuff. That's
Anytime.
for sure.
I mean,
Thanks,
even if
guys.
you
I might just do that.
seriously, I mean, even if you want to be on here for 5 minutes and just plug something, you can be on, or you can be on here again for another hour, whatever you want to do.
Thanks, Bert.
Seriously, anytime. All right. Well, that is, I think that's all the projects that we have for you.
I mean, he only has a few. You might need to do some more stuff, Mike. I mean,
I'm working on some other stuff. Like
Oh my gosh! I mean, you're such a slacker.
Wow.
I got a few just fun questions for you. Who in the industry would you love to work with that you never got to? Maybe like you guys gelled at a con and you never got to like hit it off. It could be a writer, it could be a colorist, it could be an inker, it could be an artist.
Kyle Holtz.
Oh, good choice.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I never would have thought that answer. Golly, he's doing covers for Marvel right
wasn't
now.
either.
And I bought a few books that I normally wouldn't buy because they're trash because the covers are so good.
Kyle's a great artist.
I've loved him since his old Nightman stuff that he did back. Was it Malibu Comics back in the day? I think. Yeah, good stuff.
I want to tell the people that are watching us live that we have Mike for a few more minutes. If you want to ask him a question, now's the time to get in a question. Go ahead, Scott.
And then my other question, I like to ask you professionals, if you could work on any character for the rest of your life that is from one of the big two or maybe the big three or however you want to look at it, just like a dream character that you've either worked on before or haven't worked on before, but you would let's just say basically you own the character for the rest of your life. You get to write stories the rest of your life, and it's going to be successful. So it's not wasted work. You're going to get paid for as long as you want to. We asked this question to Mark McKenna last week, and he said Silver Surfer. Is there a character like that you have, and you can't say Nexus or Badger because you already have those?
Well, first of all, I have to say that I prefer my own characters to any others, as any parent would prefer their own child to others. But that said, I've always wanted to write Master of Kung Fu.
Oh,
nice!
Wow!
They would be so smart to get you on the phone like 5 minutes from now.
Unfortunately, that position has been taken.
Yeah, they are pushing that character hard because they're about to come out with a new film.
By a young woman, and I just want to know, does she know anything about martial arts?
That I don't know.
Right.
Has anybody asked her?
It's a good question.
We could ask her. She'll come on the show.
Feeling she won't.
I have a feeling that character's getting a total redo is what I feel like. I could be wrong on that, but
maybe it will be entertaining.
Hopefully it'll be entertaining.
We hope so.
Nice.
That's why Ann is staying in the room. She's making sure you behave, right?
They heard you.
That's it'd be nice. Yeah. Talking down another artist.
All right. Good night, folks.
It was great meeting you, sir.
Likewise.
Thank you, Mike, for coming on.
Thank you very much.
So
My
much
pleasure.
of your
We'll
stuff
do
over
this
the years.
again.
All right.
Absolutely.
Thank you
Awesome.
very much.
All right. That's a hard act to follow, folks.
Oh,
right.
Good stuff.
Let's see. Well, let's reset here. We're going to talk about DC stuff. Let me get my bearings with me. You have anything you want to say, Sean? Go ahead.
I wanted to ask him about Atari Force, and it just didn't have the opportunity. Sorry.
Oh, he'll be back on.
Did he
You
do
can ask
Atari
him then.
Force?
Yeah, he did like 6 issues of Atari Force.
Holy cats.
Absolutely nobody talks about Atari Force because
I used to love Atari Force.
I think 4 people actually read it, and
I was one of the 4.
And I was another one of the 4. So
did it have anything to do with the Atari consoles back in the day, or was it like we take this name? Was it totally independent
really.
ideas?
Yeah.
totally independent.
Not really.
Okay,
It had
well,
nothing to do with Atari, other than their ship was in the shape of the Atari logo.
okay, so it was a little bit tied in together, just a little bit.
They had the Atari logo on their jumpsuits, but beyond that, it had nothing to do with any of the video games, any of the console. Had nothing to do with anything.
You know, it's funny that you bring that up. I wasn't going to ask a question about that because I've never read it, but it's been in the last couple months now. I've heard a few other people talk about how Atari Force is like a very underrated comic from that time. I follow a thing.
I haven't read it in, whatever.
It's a
3-4 decades.
It was a very big science fiction comic. It was about travel. It was about exploration. It was about just. And
he says hi. We kind of went off of our regular thing because we only had Mike for an hour. We wanted to make sure to get as much stuff in there as we could.
Yeah, we'll get all that in there.
He was very gracious and stuff. So some people I didn't get to say hi to when we were doing the thing because I really wanted to focus on him. Michelle says, Sean, red is your color. You should wear it more. There you go. Yeah. You should probably listen to a woman's advice.
Yeah, Sean. Listen to your mom and Michelle and Jeree. Listen to them all. Any woman that chimes in. Mike, listen to Mike. Listen to all women. Boom.
Damn, dude.
Damn. We love Mike, man. Mike says he loves Atari Force. It had great art by Garcia Lopez. Yes.
Yeah.
I want them to take all of those and put them in an omnibus or something. I would love to get my hands on one of those because I've looked for the individual issues and I can't find them hardly anywhere.
What did we lose?
every viewer under the age of 35 because they don't know what the hell Atari Force is.
I know we tend to do that.
That's okay. That's all right. That's
we
a good
tend
tangent.
to do that.
It's topical. Mike did write it.
I know what I want to talk because we didn't do this at the beginning of the thing. Like I said, I got to reset here. This is crazy. First off, I want to talk about a couple of YouTube things that we did before we get out of this thing. So you can go right there to our YouTube channel, and if you're interested, the first thing that I'm going to mention is this right here.
Yeah. Which
is the Blood Bowl second season exclusive unboxing.
That's right.
Scott Prime, you want to talk about that first?
I'll sum it up really quick. I do a podcast called Both Down where we talk about Blood Bowl. We have for over 100 episodes, the last 10 years of our life. The company Games Workshop sent us a preview copy about 3.5 weeks early before it drops here in the States on Black Friday. They also sent us a couple of teams, a couple of card packs, and they gave us permission to officially talk about it on the 14th. Now, other places somehow got early copies. Like the big rumor is like some of the reps sold their preview copy to people for more money than they should or something like that. Anyway, some of them got leaked out, but since we are going officially through Games Workshop, or GW as we call them, we played by their rules and we didn't spoil anything until the date that they said we could spoil everything. So, we dropped a podcast on Saturday talking about it, and that was the first day they said we could talk about it. We did a short prime reviews where we talked about Blood Bowl, and I had my guest, my co-host from Both Down, Steve Campbell, with me, and we talked about it and showed all the goodies in there. And then today we dropped another podcast talking about the Spike magazine, which is like a sub rule set for the new team that's coming out. It has a bunch of what we call fluffy stuff, backstory for the characters and stuff in that universe. And so, yeah, we just... I've been really busy with 2 Taskforce Geek things and 2 Both Down things since Saturday. I'm looking forward to tomorrow night when I can just hang out with my kids instead of being on here talking.
Mike says that the Atari Force needs to be an omnibus. It's probably it's probably hung up. Who published that? Was that Marvel?
No, it's DC.
That's DC.
Okay,
for sure.
I mean, there's the issue with that, and then there's the issue with it being saying Atari. So, and that's changed hands so many times. Who owns Atari now?
No idea, man. I think that's where it's hung up with probably the rights with that. So,
I agree. I'll put in my vote for that. Okay. Now, in addition to that thing, and by the way, look, those guys got some exclusive content there from Games Workshop, which is not chumpy. That's not like, it's not like Bill's, game shop or something. I mean, it's Games Workshop. Hello. And they sent you exclusive content 2 weeks before anyone else was supposed to have a hold of it. That is pretty cool. And if you want to see that, go to that address right there, youtube.com.
Yeah. Give us a like, comment, check us out at
that episode. They cover it. They covered it in 20 minutes, and you can see it. And you can also go to bothdown.com, and you can listen to I guess you guys had 2 episodes on the subject.
Yeah, we did. Right? So, yeah. And then probably next month, if you are interested at all in Blood Bowl, we're probably going to kind of reset and reintroduce ourselves, because every time they do one of these big releases, Blood Bowl is now played in a video game format, but some people just play the video game and then they hear about this type of big release, and these are all new rules. So we're going to gain some new listeners like we always do. So it might be that time to kind of say, welcome to, episode 116 of Both Down. Let's tell you who we are for the first time. So if you're wanting to, get on the ground floor and a reintroduction of us, then we'll do that next episode.
Gary says he's looking forward to playing the new Blood Bowl in person.
What's in person? What is that world like? Yeah, I can't wait.
Right. What is that? We don't know. That was the before times.
The before times, for sure.
All right. Also on the YouTube channel that we have, I did a little thing, the first episode of Taskforce Geek News. And I covered a story which I thought was pretty cool, about perhaps Keanu Reeves doing a Constantine 2 movie, which is if you saw the original Constantine movie back in 2005, you know that particular movie was maybe not right along with the comic that it was based on. And since then, John Constantine has shown up on NBC as a series and on the CW on miniseries. And we've also had a Lucifer series on Fox. And I think that, maybe for those reasons and maybe for the fact that Keanu is a force of nature right now, and anything that they is attached to his name, goes triple gold or whatever. I think maybe that's the reasons why they're talking about doing this right now. But, it's still a little bit in the rumor territory. Anyway, I cover it there for our first little Taskforce Geek News segment, where I just take a topic and talk about it for a minute. So if you're interested in that, check that out. All right. That's it. We're going to go on to what was supposed to be our first segment right now. Maybe. All right, what the heck is happening at DC? That's the subject. One of the stories that came out this week is former chief executive officer of DC, Geoff Johns, will be publishing his first comic book outside of the company in more than a decade, with the announcement of Geiger, a new creator-owned title for Image Comics. It's going to be launching in 2021. And then also there's another story that came out recently from Comicsbeat that says a new wave of layoffs swept over WarnerMedia, and that included DC Comics. I'm going to bring this up on here. Although the DC staff was cut by as much as 25% back in August, still more employees were found to be let go. Among them, as Comicsbeat guest yesterday, was Michelle Wells, VP and executive editor, DC Children's Young Adult, and for the brief 3-month period, DC's co-editor-in-chief. More troubling to industry watchers was the decimation of the direct sales department. It seems that everyone is gone, including sales manager Stuart Schreck, marketing services director Adam Phillips, and events director Fletcher Chufong. Vince Letterio, the executive director of direct sales, was let go in the last round. The only person left in DC's direct sales and marketing team is Nancy Spears, the VP of sales. She has lost over 100 years of institutional knowledge on her staff. Vince, Adam, Stewart, and Fletcher were the industry face of DC, known to every retailer and creator. The shocking housekeeping will do nothing to dissuade the rumors that DC is pulling out of the direct market, or at least cutting back on their periodical publishing program, so much that is the practical effect. Spears is much respected in all levels of the industry, but there's nothing but gloomy tweets and DMs from retailers. Wow. That is crazy. So on this subject...
I like that the story used the Red Wedding.
Did they?
From
I missed
Game of Thrones.
Ouch.
Yeah.
Ouch. Yeah. And first, I'm going to go to Scott on this.
I don't know we've talked about this several times, and we keep thinking like they can't cut any more people.
Exactly.
And I think some of us long in the tooth comic people don't think like they're never really going to totally cut all their comics. But man, I think they're going to, I'm really close to just saying like Marvel, or Disney is going to buy DC and sooner than later. That might be kind of crazy to say, but like, I just keep downsizing, and I don't know. This can't be good, but I mean, it could be a temporary thing where, like, after a couple of years of, they're scaling back all their books anyways, just to publish, Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman stories, or a combination of the two. And I mean, Harley Quinn's in there as well as maybe Punchline, but I mean, like, there's not going to be a whole lot of different titles out there besides that. Here in a couple months. So I really don't know what to think about this. Now, John's leaving. that doesn't really shock me with everything going on. I mean, did they say he was fired or let go, or did they say that he's just left?
I think that's a firing. I mean,
Okay.
it's all the same, you know.
Well,
he may have quit or whatever, but he was probably
on his way
out the door. Yeah.
That's kind of what I got from it, but I got to admit I didn't read too many articles about it and stuff. I mean, him going to Image, for the Geoff Johns fans out there, that's going to be huge. And he's taken, Gary Frank with him, and I believe they did all the Doomsday Clock stuff. And
not too shabby.
They work together quite a bit, or as of late, kind of like Mike Baron and Steve Rude. It's going to be a big hit over at Image, comic wise. But
here's Mike Kennedy with the answer. He says Blake Northcutt tweeted last week that she had been let go as a writer.
Wow, that's crazy. Okay, well, maybe so. Maybe all this is just going to go under until they can sell off all the properties, or maybe they'll. What is the company? Is it IDW that like license some of the Marvel stuff from them and some of the Star Wars stuff? I mean, we might see that eventually. Like, I was in denial about a lot of this. I just figured they'd cut and cut and cut and then hire some cheaper people who's eager to work. But more and more I think about it, man, it feels like, anything goes at this point. And they could eventually sell that stuff off or just license it out, let somebody else do their stuff for them and they make some money off the top. So, right.
Sean, what do you think?
I've said it before. I don't think they'll sell off the rights to the character. They already saw the debacle that was Marvel in the 90s and whatnot. So I don't think that they're gonna go that route. Not just yet, anyway. More than likely, they will. As I mentioned in previous shows and whatnot, was that they'll probably license out those characters to an IDW or Dark Horse or whoever, and let them produce new or rehashes of old stories and what have you. They're not going to get rid of their characters. They're not going to let those go for a while. They're, the parent company, AT&T, they're this whole moment in time, 2020 has not been kind to anybody.
No.
And so they're trying to cut the bleeding as much as they can, and unfortunately DC Comics is a pretty open artery that's bleeding money like nobody's business. So from a financial, I suspect that they're looking at DC and saying, all right, get rid of that limb, move on.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, I don't think they'll get rid of the characters. I don't think they'll let go of the characters because they are money makers. They'll just, as far as the publication wing, at least for now, I think they'll license out the characters to other publishers who are willing to carry the load.
Yeah, I think that you have to look no further than AT&T. AT&T is running the show now. They're the ones who are looking at this, and they're looking at it with dispassionate eyes. They look at the bottom line. AT&T wants to know what's making us money. And right now, DC Comics is not making them money, not directly. Now, they can take those characters and they can make movies or they can make television series on it, but the actual comic books that they're based on are not making money, with one exception. When they combine those comics and they put them out as graphic novels, those are making good money. Last week we talked about that. One of the places where comic books are doing really well is when they combine those things, make graphic novels, and they sell them through either Amazon or they sell them through Barnes & Noble or wherever. But individual comics that are going to comic book stores are not making AT&T money, and so they are cutting the fat right now. And that's really unfortunate. What does that mean? It means that it's possible that we're only going to have a handful of comics. I think if you look at that Generations thing that they were doing, you were looking at what they called the Batman family and the Superman family, and then Justice League. And I think that basically that's the herald of where we're going. We're going to be looking at 3 major families of comics, and it's not going to be 112 comics that they're putting out every month. It's going to be 12 comics that they're coming out with every month. And then what they will do is take those individual comics and they'll put them together in a graphic novel, and that's where they're going to make their money. So they're not going to back out of comic book retailers entirely, but they're going to be cutting back seriously on that. And also, due to the people that they let go, there's almost no doubt whatsoever that conventions, all of the conventions that they were showing up at and having Jim Lee do artwork and demonstrations and have long lines of great artists and writers that you can meet and talk to and get signatures from, those days, at least the days of DC supporting that, those may be over for a while, unfortunately. When you go to a convention, some of those writers and artists may be there, but they may be there on their own, like on their own dime. They show up and they get a pro badge or whatever, and they're at that convention, but there's not going to be that massive DC Comics, pavilion that we were used to and loved. I think that those times, at least for right now, are over. Now, if AT&T decides that they're going to get rid of that property at some point, Warner Brothers at large or DC Comics at large, then maybe that comes back. I don't know. And what does it herald for the rest of the industry? I don't know. Maybe there's a retraction from DC and Marvel for exactly the same reason. Maybe comics from the big 2 are not going to be around as strong and as large as they used to be. And maybe that's a good thing for the rest of the comics industry, because as you can see, there's plenty of Kickstarters and Indiegogo campaigns and independent comics coming out from, some really great publishers right now that can come into that vacuum that not having DC will create. I think it's huge that Geoff Johns is gone. I want you to take that in for a moment. Geoff Johns is not just a guy who was working in comics. He definitely worked in comics, but that was the guy that worked with the film division. That's the guy that worked with the television division. Go look at any of the, CW programs or any of the films that have come out in the past, 5 or so years. They all have the name Geoff Johns on them.
Right.
That's huge. That's like them losing, their modern day Stan Lee, which is pretty incredible. And I also say they still have Jim Lee, but
for now,
but how long is Jim Lee going to be there? Is Jim Lee maybe looking to grab Wildcats and go someplace else or something? I don't know.
New comics came out, new DC books came out today. Here's an example of like how much they've cut back.
They came out today?
Well, DC Comics now come out on Tuesdays. Everything else in the industry comes out on Wednesdays.
I didn't know that, actually.
They just started this a couple months ago. They're doing their own
distribution.
They're doing their own thing. Here you go.
That was your first shot across the bow.
Batman 103 came out. That's a Batman book.
Yep.
Catwoman 27, Batman book.
Mm-hmm.
Dark Knight's Death Metal, number 5, Batman book.
Yeah.
Joker, Harley, Criminal Sanity, number 6, Batman book.
Mm-hmm.
Nightwing 76, Batman family book. Justice League 57, Batman's in it.
Right.
And
Justice
then Teen
League
Titans 47, which is the last issue of Teen Titans. So that book's going to be canceled. And then, of course, some omnibuses and a few trades came out, but it's like Batman 3 Jokers hardcover. It's JLA Grant Morrison omnibus is coming out. So it's a lot of Batman stuff. I mean, like Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, Justice League. That's probably all we're going to get after a while. Period.
That's pretty sad.
I mean, it's already started that way. I mean, I was pretty mad that ever since this stuff started And with the pandemic, there was a book called The Terrifics, which was its own kind of book with Mr. Terrific and Plastic Man, Metamorpho, and some other characters.
Yep.
They just stopped it. They didn't even finish that comic. Now
just
they
done.
said, here's the last issue that you're going to get, but they didn't even tell you it's the last issue. You have to read online that yes, there's 3 more issues done or 2 more issues done. And if you want to read those, when the trade comes out, you can pick up and read those, or you can go on DC Online and read them. It really kind of pissed me off. So
What about Adam Strange?
well, that's a limited series and it's under the Black Label stuff. So it will finish. It will finish, but I doubt you see any more Adam Strange
But
after it's done. Yeah, once it's done, it's going to be done. So
It's
just interesting to see what's going on right now.
Any other thoughts on this subject, guys?
No, we've talked about it a bunch, and every 2 weeks it seems like we get surprised again.
Nothing is changing my opinion. I still think that they're going to, like they say, they're going to do the graphic novels, which they can sell in bookstores,
They're
and
doing well.
they're going to do digital,
What are you
which
gonna do?
a lot of people are going towards because it costs nothing for them to produce.
They could go all in on digital, where they
It's possible.
produce individually. They do not send anything to the comic stores.
Right.
They do digital issues, and one at a time if you want to buy them that way. And then once again, they compile them as graphic novels, and they cut out the local comic store entirely.
The
They
only
could.
other
It could
the only other
happen.
thing I see is, like I said earlier, is they're going to license out the characters and let somebody else carry the burden.
Very possible.
Yeah, your Adam Strange is exactly that character that could be, sent to
I could
Horse
see him. I could see him being published by Dark Horse.
or IDW or whatever you got.
At that point, it could almost be anybody.
Yeah. All right, on to our final subject. Mike got a couple of comments in late here. He says, kind of sad to see that happened to DC and all those characters and creators. Yeah, think about, the executives are one thing, but think about those creators, all the great creators they have over there and the great stories that will be lost like tears in the rain.
You had to work that in, didn't you?
To quote him. I think digital is the slow death of comics. I'm kind of okay with digital.
TV was not the slow death of cinema. Netflix was not the slow death of cinema. Cinema's still going to be there no matter what.
I don't know. I'm never going to read comics digitally unless I'm just forced to. I guess like if they stop publishing comics in paper, I'll probably still read a few of them on digital, but that's what it would take for me to stop, because I just enjoy having the paper. But like my kids now, if they find something, they might be okay with that,
Dude, I download digital crap all the time.
I did
Yeah,
too.
but do you read it?
I also pick up comics, physically.
I read it.
I do both.
When I'm illustrating, a lot of times I'll have it up for reference. There's so much that can be done with the digital format.
You never get any creases in those digital pages.
Yeah, you don't resell them either for like 50
do not.
bucks.
I don't resell any of my comics as it is, so nothing has changed.
I don't either.
I'm a pack rat, man. Nothing leaves. Nothing.
What? You're a pack rat? Nothing leaves.
Nothing.
Sean is like a black hole. Everything comes in, nothing leaves.
Kevin's been in my guest room for how long?
Wow. It's been a while.
Nothing leaves.
I'm not leaving.
Good stuff.
All right. Here's our subject. What's a movie or sequel that was promised but never made that you would still like to see? I have no idea what I'm going to get from you guys on this. I just think it's kind of funny. Are you guys perplexed? I can go first if you want.
You go first.
Movie or sequel that was promised.
That was promised or talked about, or it's like, hey, I'm really looking forward to this thing, but it never happened.
Okay.
That you'd still like to see.
I got
Sean,
some.
do you have anything?
He's thinking. You go first.
Okay, I can go first.
Go do it.
And I'd like to say if anyone has their own stuff, then comment in on this. All right, I will go first. The first thing that I want to mention is back in the olden days, they had Buckaroo Banzai, and we were promised at the end of that movie, they even had like a blurb for it, which was going to be Buckaroo Banzai and the World Crime League or something. I think that would be really cool. That's one of them that comes to mind. The second one is Tim Burton's Superman, which was
no one wants to see that.
It was supposed to start. It was probably a major dumpster fire, but it was supposed to star Nicolas Cage with like some sort of crazy, like lit up Superman outfit. I have no idea what they were doing with that, but I mean, it could have been complete trash, but it would have been like this wonderfully entertaining hunk of trash. So I wish that we had gotten Tim Burton's Superman. It probably would have killed that character for a decade or so, but I still want it. And finally, look, the actual pick that I have for this is Jodorowsky's Dune. Man, if we could have really gotten Jodorowsky's version of Dune, it would have been spectacular.
Okay, now see, you're diverging from your own question.
How so?
That is not a sequel of any kind.
It's a movie.
He said sequel. A movie or sequel.
Please read the thing. It's up there on the screen. Movie or
What's
sequel?
A movie? I saw movie sequel. I missed the or. My bad. Mm-hmm. My bad. Mm-hmm. All right.
You got to read the fine print there, buddy.
All right.
So Jodorowsky had Pink Floyd doing the soundtrack.
Dude, science fiction would have been dead forever if that.
He had design work early on before Alien from Geiger and Mobius, and he had Salvador Dali cast as the Emperor. How much cooler could that thing have been? It could have been. I mean, I don't think it would have been Dune. It would have been Jodorowsky's Dune, and I wish that we had gotten that. Okay, that's my answer on this subject. I'm going to go. Scott, you got something yet, or
no? I've had something.
All right,
ready?
Let's have it.
You ready? All right.
I'm ready.
Ever since I saw Heavy Metal, the movie, the old cartoon movie, we all know what we're talking about. Mm-hmm. I saw that thing and I was like, why don't we have one of these like every 3 years? I mean, a compilation of short stories. Heavy Metal's full of those.
Yep.
Give us those. It had fun art. It had, for the time, it was great art or animation. You know, a good movie soundtrack. It was everything we wanted, and we finally got it again with, what is it? I'm going to say it wrong because I always do.
Robots.
Love, Death, and Robots. We finally got that again with Love, Death, and Robots. But back in the day when I finally saw Heavy Metal, because I always heard about it. You ever seen Heavy Metal? And of course I'm thinking like heavy metal music, and it's like, no, I don't care about, you know, like Judas Priest and all those people. You know, and then they're like, no, it's a movie, it's a cartoon movie, you'll love it. So that's number one. This other one is you guys are gonna laugh at me. Do you remember the movie called Small Soldiers that came out in like 1998? It was when I heard of this movie, people sold it to me as it's like Transformers versus G.I. Joe, and they're like toys and they're fighting each other and having this battle. And so instantly when I heard about this, I thought this was the coolest idea ever, because, you know, I'm living vicariously as a young boy who had both of those toys. And of course I thought it was going to be in the same type of format where like there's no real humans in it. It's just the toys battling each other in like a room, kind of like Toy Story was, you know? And then when that movie came out, it was utter trash. And I was so mad when I left that theater, because I went like instantly and I saw it, in about, you know, like 20 minutes in, you go like, oh God, they're going to like fight the human people. And this is so stupid. And I was furiously mad. So I don't want a sequel. I want it remade right. I want G.I. Joe versus Transformers, like in a toy line movie.
Wow.
How about that?
You're probably going to get a G.I. Joe versus Transformers movie.
And the other thing was
share something like that. What was it that Walt just shared today?
I don't remember.
I don't remember.
I mean,
it was Transformers, and
I know Hasbro's working on their cinematic universe. So
It was Transformers and X-Men.
Oh, that's right.
I
Yeah, that kind of cross. Yeah, he posted that. Well, they're going to cross over the torch.
So they're thinking along those lines a little bit.
Well, and up to, if you would have asked this like 3 months ago, I would have said, like, I don't know why they never did a second Willow, telling more from that world and maybe make it more exciting. But we know that's coming. So, yeah.
Better, much better.
Right.
All right, Sean, you're up, buddy.
That is a very
Mike
difficult
agrees on Buckaroo Banzai.
I've never seen Buckaroo Banzai, and I know that's like a travesty, but I've just never seen it.
And he says, no Nicolas Cage Superman. It's a great documentary, though. I've never seen the documentary. I should see that.
God bless. I don't know. I know that there was talk of another Friday the 13th movie. I know, go figure. That was supposed to be the 13th movie in the franchise, and
they're at 12.
Well, not necessarily. I mean, the movies go up to 10, and then you had the Freddy Jason, and then they had the remake that came out. So there's 12 films.
All right. Well, that counts.
But they're not, they're not in continuity or anything. Anyway, there was supposed to be another movie that was going to be produced. It was going to be the 13th Friday the 13th movie. That but there were a lot of hangups in the courts, which I don't think they've still got that all worked out. But what was proposed sounded really interesting. Obviously, a lot of people have heard the rumors of the Neil Blomkamp's Alien film.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
I'd love to see movement on that.
That could happen. That could still happen.
And, hopefully. But as far as anything, I know that there's probably 1,000 movies that I've seen that I would love to have seen a sequel to, or seen it carry on. Jason Momoa's Conan. I would love to have seen another one of those. Much like Scott, I would also love them to go back and redo the Jason Momoa Conan.
Do things better.
Jason Momoa was a fantastic Conan. If you haven't seen that movie, I can't recommend it because the story was terrible. But if for no other reason, just to watch Momoa as that character, he was Conan. It wasn't like Arnold portraying Conan. It was Jason Momoa was Conan. It was everything that you got from the Robert E. Howard books. He was Conan, and I would love to see that, more of that. I'm a big Momoa fan. I've enjoyed his movies, and I always feel that he's gotten the short end of the stick a lot of times. So,
is it? You think it's you like him because he's hot?
No, but he's a great action character. He does a lot of good action-y films that are very entertaining. I mean, Aquaman.
I'm just teasing you.
It was that is not. I really wish they wouldn't have cast him for Aquaman, because he would have been so much better as Lobo, and that I think he would have been able to take and run with like nobody's business.
That's a good one.
I'd like to see a sequel to the Dungeons and Dragons movie. They just announced that we're going to get some Dungeons and Dragons. It will not be a sequel to that movie. Right. It will be something totally different.
There was a film that came out,
was
Aragon.
That going to be on television, or?
I believe that was
Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah, wasn't that for Netflix?
I think it's going to be chopped around for a Netflix or a Amazon or something like that.
Right. They don't have it.
There was a movie, Aragon, I think, that was based on the novels, that was a crappy movie. Anytime you make a movie, it needs to be a self-contained story. It can be open-ended so that you can continue on with the characters and what have you, but the story itself has to be.
They make that mistake so many times. They're looking so far down. They're going to have eight movies. It's going to be 8 movies in a television series.
Right.
And they need to stick the landing on that first movie, or they're not going to be anything.
Right. John Carter, Warlord of Mars.
That's a good example.
I mean, they were ready for theme parks of that thing, and then they failed.
Yes, they were.
Well, they shouldn't have changed the story
or anything.
Or anything. What was it? Seventh Son, I think, was based on a bunch of novels. I enjoyed that movie, as campy as it was, and I looked forward to more of those. Unfortunately, that tanked at the box office. Right. I don't know. Like I said, I could probably run through a list of movies that I would like to see more of, but I really don't know. That's a stumper.
You got it, man. All right, we're going to On Blast. All right, this is about stuff that we've been reading, watching, playing, whatever we want to talk about and tell you about it and promote it. So for that, first, I'm going to Scott.
Well, we've already talked about Blood Bowl. It's everywhere right now in my world. So consuming a lot of Blood Bowl, but I wanted to show you some cool comic stuff I got. I wanted to show this off last week. See this big old thing here, this Guardians of the Galaxy solo classic. It's a Marvel.
Massive.
It's my first Marvel omnibus, because these things retail for, $125 or so. And it has all these wonderful.
Say that again.
$125.
Ouch.
It has all these classic issues, all in color. It's in a, and of course I went to the only black and white issue. First appearance Star-Lord, a bunch of other characters that, go on to be in the Guardians of the Galaxy or the newest version.
Is awesome.
Got it for $20 new.
No.
New. $20. There's a place called Ollie's that has, it's like a bargain store, and they had this, and this was the only copy I saw. It was $20, and I said, even if I only read like 3 books out of this, it's still worth it. So I picked up Guardians of the Galaxy. I've never had an omnibus because they're always so expensive, and usually you don't find them cheap. Now, would I have liked this to have been like better from like the Marvel Premiere series? I think is where the Guardians of the Galaxy first appeared, and all those reprints. Sure, but I'll sure take this too because there's some issues.
No, I like that.
Yeah,
I like that. I like that old stuff.
Good stuff. My second thing, and I didn't know this existed either. And there might be other things like this out, or this also might be why DC is hurting.
Oh yeah,
this is called.
Sean introduced this to me.
Okay, so Sean, do you know if there's other ones of this out there?
There are
like other artists and stuff.
Yep.
The one I got was Greg Capullo doing Batman.
Okay, so this also might be where they're losing some of their money in DC because several years ago somebody decided for $40, let's reprint the Justice League stuff in black and white. Now, I only picked this up because it was in black and white. If this was the ink stuff in color, I wouldn't have picked it up because I read some of the issues. But this is like Jim Lee's pencils.
It's his pencils. Yeah, it's not inks. It's pencils, folks.
It's his pencils. His raw pencils with the story in there. So at first when I picked this up, I thought, oh, I'm just going to get his pencils. Still worth it because I got this for $8, normally $40. It's pretty amazing. So now I read the first 6 issues of Justice League. Now I can read the other 6 and see Jim Lee's pencils, which are just mind-blowing. I did not know these things exist. It's called Justice League Unwrapped by Jim Lee. Obviously, Sean must have a Batman Unwrapped by Greg Capullo. Is that right, Sean?
Yes.
Okay, so I didn't know this thing exists. Would I have paid $40 for it? Probably not. but I sure would pay $8, and I picked it up. I was really excited to see this. And
that's cool, man.
this is just awesome to pour over and like just kind of study and look and see how they tell stories.
If you're an artist,
yeah.
Let me just tell you here the unwrapped editions that they have. There's a Batman Hush unwrapped.
Okay, that's Jim Lee.
Batman Court of Owls. That was the Greg Capullo one that I've got. They have Justice League, which you've got. Blackest Night unwrapped.
Okay.
Let's see here.
Flash. They have Flash by Francis Manapul. I just found a list. Suicide Squad by Jim Lee as well. That's what it says.
Death of the Family. Batman.
That's a lot.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, so there's quite a few.
These are also available on Comixology, by the way. And for a song, especially around the holiday season, which happens to be coming up, they gave them away for nothing. I mean, really, like a few bucks. You can look at all of this. It's not the same as having a hardback, obviously. No. But if you're interested in it, you're an artist, or you're just interested in what artist pencils look like, that's an option for you if you don't want to dump $40.
I thought it was really cool, and then I was like, I'm really glad that they don't do this with like the few artists I really follow and buy like covers for and everything, because like that'd get expensive really quick.
Good.
So good stuff. I'm glad to find those. I've been excited to talk about those for about 2 or 3 weeks now. So
yep, we didn't do these last week because we had another great guest.
That's all right.
Is that it, Scott?
That's it. That's it for me. I'll keep it short and compact.
Sean.
I really haven't read or watched a whole lot. I got caught up on The Mandalorian.
I would like to talk about Scott. Have you watched The Mandalorian? We can't talk about it tonight, but
I have seen all. Well, I have not seen the issue or the episode that dropped last Friday.
Okay, so. That's dude.
We tried to watch it in the middle of the day the other day, and it's so dark that like the sunlight we couldn't see stuff. So we'll catch up.
That you're in for a good episode. That's all I'll say.
I will say this. I enjoyed the first season. We never really got to talk about the first season, I don't think. But I felt like there was like a couple of episodes that were strict fillers, and they were like almost like rehashes of old A-Team or Riptide episodes. And you just inserted characters, and it felt very 80s to me, or Buck Rogers-ish. And so far this season, there's only been a couple episodes, are both really good episodes. So
don't talk about Buck Rogers.
Hey, I watched an episode of Buck Rogers the other night, bro. Aaron Grain still smoking.
All right, Sean, you're up, buddy.
The only other thing that I watched was I got caught up on The Boys. I believe I've only got 2 more episodes, and I'm done with
finished that season last night.
And
also really good.
Other than that, haven't been really watching or reading a whole lot. Been busy doing stuff.
John Jeffries wants to know, what does the group think about finishing the Golden Compass movies?
Oh, that was a big one that came out.
Being that they've moved on to TV, that movie's done. Don't even bother.
Was that?
I remember all the toys.
Do what?
Is that called Dark Materials or?
His Dark Materials or something like that.
Right. I never saw it, but I remember the franchise launched a ton of toys, and they were everywhere for that stuff. That was supposed to be the next big thing.
It did,
but again, they didn't do a complete story.
Mm-hmm.
They did the first part of a story and left no explanation, no ending, no nothing. It was horrible. But it looked good.
Yeah.
Those, the first Harry Potter movie tells a complete story.
Mm-hmm.
So does the first Star Wars,
yes.
I mean, it was only
the first
one
Star
story.
Wars, definitely.
But I mean, still.
Yep. You gotta tell that story.
Even Empire had an open end to it, but it was a complete story. Whenever you start looking at Jedi, obviously, complete story. You start looking at the most recent sequels, not a complete story.
Yeah.
No. Even after 3 movies, it wasn't a complete story.
Just do.
It took them 3 movies to get nowhere.
Just do the story. Like I said, you can leave it open ended. You can leave it open to expansion, but you've got to have that initial story.
Michelle wants to know, and let's not spoil it for the people who. Scott, are you watching The Boys? I don't remember you.
No, I read the comic. I don't need to watch the show. I don't care.
Oh, you say that.
Nope, I don't care. It's too much TV.
All right.
You're lucky I'm watching The Mandalorian.
Wow. Michelle says, did you hear about the big scene that is rumored for The Boys season 3? Sean, you got any? I haven't heard it.
If she's talking about
Jensen Ackles
and his role, I know of that.
They showed a statue of him in the 2nd season. What he's going to look like. I don't remember the character's name. So if that's what you're talking about, then we've heard a little bit about it. All right. My deal here is the Department of Truth. It's pretty cool. It's written by James Tynion IV, who did Batman for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe right now. Yeah.
It still does.
Current artist is Martin Simmons. So the artist, all of the art is done by him. Pencils, inks, colors, whatever, what have you. This style, which is what attracted me to picking up the comic, and I thought it would be kind of a weird conspiracy type comic book. That's what attracted me to this thing in the first place. It's kind of painted, and it reminds me a lot of Bill Sienkiewicz. If you are into that, if you're not, then you're not going to like this stuff. But it's kind of painted and scratched out and has kind of a weird painterly feel to it. I like it. I think it's really cool. The storyline, which I don't really want to give away to you, because it's got a little bit of X-Files in it. It has kind of that feel to it. It's grounded and yet kind of weird. It's got little bit of Doom Patrol, a little bit of X-Files, like I said. It's got a nice little zinger at the end of the first issue. It's weird. It's super weird. It's another one of those comics. I don't know where they're going with it, and that's why I'm interested in it. But it's pretty cool. So anyway, this is an Image comic, if you're interested in it, and it's called The Department of Truth. That's what I got. All right, guys. What else? No more comments. Let's bring this thing home. What's up, Scott?
Sean made the noise that sounded like the Pac-Man. Yeah, it sounded like Pac-Man eating like the little whatever things, the little power pellets or whatever. It cracked me up.
All right.
I'm gonna go first. Give me a promo.
You got it.
All right, you can catch me over at boatdown.com.
Man, I'm not ready for any of this.
Oh my gosh.
There it is. Okay, there we go.
And I'm going to throw another one. We'll see if Dirk is ready. If you want to catch me, you can catch me also at not the real, just Real Scott Prime at Twitter. At Twitter at Real Scott Prime.
Yep, don't have that.
No, you don't have that. You can. Then that's it, I guess. So he's not ready. The guy who encouraged me to change my Twitter handle because it was important is not ready.
How about that?
He just did that on the fly. So
look at that. I was all over it.
So catch me at Real Scott Prime over on Twitter.
Hey, I finally have someone to help me out on Twitter. Thank you, Scott.
You're welcome.
Dude, getting ready for this episode was tenuous. All right. It's you, Sean. It's all you, man.
Unfortunately, I don't have a whole lot to promote. Like I said a moment ago, I've been doing a lot of work, doing a little bit of writing, doing a little bit of illustrating, and whatnot. So that's been occupying most of my time. But as always, please feel free to find me and my studio mates at rankingstudios.com, where you can check out some of our stuff. And
that's Scott and me too.
And feel free to drop us a line at info@rankingstudios.com.
I don't have that.
Tell us you like us. Tell us you hate us. Whatever you want. Just let us know that we've been a moment in your day. You can also find us at Facebook/Ranking Studios.
Right.
As well, drop in, leave us a line, let us know what you think, and hopefully we see you guys there. That's all I got. Man.
Go to my Twitter account, Dirk Hooper Plus. Go to my Facebook page, Dirk Hooper Artworks. There's my shizzle. And also, if you want to send us some stuff, let's say that you are a comic creator or you create widgets that are geeky, whatever those are, mail us stuff. Hey, why not?
Sure.
There's the physical address that you can send stuff to us. You can send it to any of the three of us, or to, just the show in general. If you just want us to show something on the show, there's the place to send it right there. What else we got, guys?
That's it, man. I gotta admit, I'm exhausted. I've done social media stuff now for the last 4 days. I'm pretty tired. I need a few days off.
Oh, I did have one other thing. Oh, I'm not going to be able to put this together in time. This is ridiculous.
Oh my gosh. What a terrible producer you are.
Hang on.
I guess we'll have to save it for next time.
No, it has to be done right now.
Now we have to do it right now? All right. So
yes,
here we go.
Because it's about our guest last week, Mark McKenna. He successfully funded his Banana Tales Kickstarter, which is great. We're very happy about that. There's still a couple days left on this, and he's got so many neat little projects and stuff on there where he's doing covers, like sketch covers and stuff, and individual things that you can still get. They're still available. We still want to, even though it's funded, go over there and support him. He was an awesome guest. We really appreciate it, and we want to make sure that we get that out there before the end of the show. And I'm glad that I found that link there.
Yeah, big thanks to Mike Barron who came in here.
Wow, yeah.
I read a bunch of his stuff in the 80s, the 90s.
As did I.
So when we said we were going to get him on here, I was like, mind blown.
Crazy.
So that's really cool that he came on here. Are you kidding me? I wish he could have stayed the whole time, but we got an hour of his time, so I will take that any day of the week.
We get out there and support his hour.
Go support his projects.
Links will be. I can't go through those again, but
that's all right.
The links will be on anywhere that you see this. We'll have the links, and go support him. He's got a couple of live Kickstarters like right now, and 44 more coming next week.
Plus, I believe he and his wife both have YouTube channels. I haven't had a chance to go through them and see what all they do, but I did see that they had YouTube channels going. So, man, am I done? Is that what it is?
I think that's last call. So, all right. Well, again, thanks very much to Mike Barron to giving us an hour of his time and talk about a bunch of great stuff. I hope that people who are interested in being a writer have been, watching the last few episodes, because we've got a lot of really great information out there for people, or just people who are interested in the comic book industry in general. And thanks to the two of you for showing up here and hanging out.
Sure, no problem.
And thanks to everyone for chiming in tonight. We sure appreciate that, as always. Thanks for watching this. We appreciate it. Much love to you all. And until next time, this is Dirk Hooper saying, dream hard.